Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. You know, we all tuned in to Monday Night Raw tonight because the WWE promised to bring us back the King of the Ring. We were hoping that it was going to inject some life into this dead television show. We were hoping for some excitement to be added to our Mondays, which have just been absolutely dreadful. And instead of any of those things coming true, what we got was a regular old episode of Monday Night Raw with a couple of little bits stuffed in the middle of a shit-covered burrito that the WWE decided to serve you up tonight on the USA Network. All you WWE haters out there and all of you AEW defenders out there, see, I'm not a WWE hater. See, what I want is the WWE to get better. And that will happen with the competition that is incoming with AEW. But if you're going to turn around and tell me, oh, they brought the King of the Ring back to get at AEW and to bring in the ratings and to get the attention away and this and that, how can you possibly do that when all they did was add it to the world's worst wrestling program? The King of the Ring is not competition for AEW as it stands right now. They better be more worried about NXT being moved to the USA Network to compete live for 2 hours every Wednesday night. That's competition. This shit that they gave us in the King of the Ring on this ridiculous episode of Monday Night Raw is nothing for AEW or any of us to even be concerned about. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Monday Night Raw King of the Ring Spectacular. Let's do it. Ugh.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
You see, guys, I love wrestling. I love wrestling. I don't just love the WWE. I don't love AEW yet. I have yet to see that much that makes me love them the way some of you guys just already die hard and want to see the WWE die. And that's fine. Everybody has their opinion, and that's okay on this channel. I don't begrudge anybody for their feelings. However, you can't take a look at what we got tonight and be worried. How could you be worried about the state of the WWE? Oh my God, they're trying to get their shit together. You can get that out of what you've seen tonight. How do you take one good matchup? It was a good matchup. It wasn't the greatest matchup ever. You got one good match tonight for the King of the Ring tournament. And then you got The Fiend. As always, he showed up tonight. So, of course, he's going to be a hot point of Monday Night Raw. And then we had one small situation arise between Randy Orton and the Revival that kind of piqued my interest and kind of seems like it might actually work. It doesn't really make sense. And I'm not really too into it at the moment. But I'm not going to shit all over it because it actually felt genuine, and it was a kind of cool moment on Monday Night Raw for the first time in God knows how long, if outside of The Fiend. So, other than those three moments, the rest of this show was garbage. 15 minutes of match time was dedicated to the returning King of the Ring tournament. Michael Cole wants to sit there and go, the greatest tournament in sports entertainment history, or however the hell he used his freaking words tonight, which I guess is true. It's true. The King of the Ring is the greatest tournament in all of sports entertainment because all of the other tournaments, the G1, the Super J Cup, the Cruiserweight Classic, all of the other tournaments the WWE has put forth outside of the main roster have all existed in the world of professional wrestling, not sports entertainment bullshit that embraces things like the, hey, look at me, I'm a clown 24/7 hours a day, 7 days a week, avocado toast, gold-plated championship. I can't even go through all of it because you guys don't understand how angry I am at the way they presented the King of the Ring tonight. My greatest fears were brought to life tonight As soon as I heard the announcement last week, I was very excited. Like, oh, the King of the Ring is coming back. I'm like, yes, I love the King of the Ring, finally. And then they say it's coming back to Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. And I immediately knew what we got tonight was going to be the end result because this was ridiculous. This was ridiculous. Even though we got a very decent 10-minute matchup between Samoa Joe and Cesaro out of the first round, that match should have been given more time. Why was it only given 10 minutes? Even worse, why was Cedric Alexander's match versus Sami Zayn only given 4 minutes total? We had less than 15 minutes dedicated to the King of the Ring tonight. There are 8 matches in the first round. There is no excuse why the 4 Raw matches in the preliminary rounds should not have taken place all tonight. There is no excuse. Not when you're going to turn around and give me tag team match after tag team match that nobody needs to see, nobody wants to see. Not when you're going to give me long, boring, drawn-out segments of drama featuring Rey Mysterio and Little Dominic the Giant. I mean, Dominic is twice the size of his dad. The kid is twice the size of his dad. They should call him Rey Mysterio Jr. Sr., or something to that effect. The Giant Mysterio. I don't understand what that whole segment was about. Rey Mysterio is contemplating retirement. He's sitting there crying. He's about to take his mask off. And then some ham hock comes from off screen and stops him from taking his mask off. And this giant oversized nerd comes over, and I realize now, oh, it's not some weird looking producer. That's little tiny Dominic. Little Dommy Guerrero. And he's going to sit there and tell his dad, don't do this. I want to wrestle with you. And I see all you idiots on the social media, all of these people, oh, that was so touching. It was so great to see Dominic reaching out to his dad. First of all, that was the most awkward moment I have ever seen in my life. Have you ever seen on TV a frame on TV where it looked like for a minute the father and the son were going to make out? Did anybody else feel that? It looked like they were going to lock lips for a second because it was so intense and they were so, oh, I love you in the moment. And I was like, what is this weirdness? Why are we doing? Is this truly the way they want to tell us that Dominic is going to be in the ring with his dad at some point? Why not just fucking do it? Just do it. Why do we have to add this fucking all my children General Hospital nonsense? Oh, my dad's down in the dumps. I'm going to pick him up out of the dumps because I'm twice his size and I can carry him like a sack of potatoes. And he needs to be brought back to life because he's a legend and we're going to wrestle together. What was that? What was that? Why was that necessary? Why was it necessary to see Elias tonight if we weren't going to see him taking part in his King of the Ring matchup? He's coming out here talking about this is going to be his final musical performance, and then his microphone keeps going out. I don't know if that was supposed to happen, if it was planned, because it definitely seemed to not fit the rest of the segment. It's not like somebody was messing with his audio and cutting his microphone. That would be revealed later. This was all just a joke segment for that ridiculous green clown belt to find R-Truth back in the ring doing a Fire Marshal Bill impression for some reason. It was just fucking awful. It was awful. And why we had to see this, I don't know. Why we had to see the Ray Dominic thing, I don't know. Why we had to see Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman be formed together as a tag team tonight is a question that will need answering till the end of wrestling time. If it is truly the intention of the WWE to have Braun Strowman be the eventual challenger for the Universal Championship, why do they have to go about it this way? Do they really think that there's no other way to get two babyface guys into a feud than to have them win the tag team championship while one of them is actually the Universal Champion and or World Heavyweight Champion, whatever the case may be, and then have the other person want the bigger title in the meantime? Of course, Braun Strowman wants the Universal Championship. The guy was looking at it like a steak all night long. Every time Seth Rollins was within this guy's eye reach, he's looking at the Universal title like, I'm hungry. These hands need to get that licorice belt. I love me some strawberry. It looks like a slice of pizza. I start thinking that he's looking at it like Bugs Bunny used to look at those two guys on the island. If you guys are Looney Tunes fans, you know what I'm talking about. They used to look at him and he used to become like a little hot dog dancing on the island because they were dying in starvation and they were seeing him like an oasis or whatever as a piece of food. That's what Braun Strowman sees when he's looking at Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins looks like a toothpick or a little, like a celery stalk to him or some shit to just snack on, and then he's going to take the Red Rope Licorice Universal Championship belt. Why every single belt comes to me as a food reference? I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit hungry. I haven't eaten bread in about 2 weeks because I'm on this stupid diet, and maybe I'm too hungry, so I'm making too many food references. I don't know what it is, but the fact is that Braun Strowman wants that championship about as much as I want a nice fucking cheeseburger right now, and that's pretty huge. That's pretty huge. That's a huge amount of want. And why they have to give them the tag team championships. Do you guys realize that the B team has held the Raw tag team championships longer than the club? The original club? The only club that matters? The only club that gets their asses handed to them and gets buried on a weekly basis? They are just another version of the Revival right now. What were they champions for 2 weeks? 3 weeks? What is the point of it? So that they could come out on Raw next week as the tag team champions. You could see Braun Strowman licking his chops every time he looks at his partner, and we're going to all not know what's coming. How could you at least do that and not have the heel turn at the end of tonight? Make Braun Strowman win the championships with Seth Rollins and then immediately turn on the guy. Vacating the championships for the tag team division and start something interesting there. Because Seth Rollins doesn't need to be Sethy Two Belts. It's fucking ridiculous. This whole show was unacceptable. Let's start talking about it before I have a goddamn aneurysm just going off. Because we didn't even get started on half this shit right now. The show opens up with Corey Graves being announced on vacation, and while I really could care less, that brought back Jerry the King Lawler, who uses every moment on WWE television nowadays to just run his 1950s stand-up comedy routine, which doesn't play anymore, and he just comes off a little bit as annoying to me, but that could just be me. His true purpose tonight was to take place in an interview, and lead an interview, rather, with Sasha Banks, as she was going to break her silence tonight on the King's Court. Of all the places for Sasha Banks to talk, she's going to talk to Jerry the King Lawler in the King's Court on Monday Night Raw. Well, at least it wasn't going to be Ms. TV, right? So let's take that as a win. The show opens up with Roman Reigns taking on Dolph Ziggler. Why? Because Dolph Ziggler decides that tonight he's going to stop in Minnesota on his I'm a Fucking Loser World Tour, where he's going to play his greatest hits of It Should Be Me, wah, wah, wah. I don't know what the hell he's complaining about. I don't know why he's targeting Roman Reigns out of nowhere. And I don't know why we have to sit here and watch this match. They gave this friggin' matchup over 10 minutes on this show. They gave this matchup time, as if it matters, like Dolph Ziggler matters. Roman Reigns and his whole storyline with the who almost killed him situation with the car accident and the light rig going down in the back. That's the story. Do you know how much progress we made on that story tonight? 0. Do you know how much progress we made on the Dolph Ziggler's a loser story? Miles and miles of progress, because it just keeps going on and on and on. This guy showed up, ran his mouth to Roman Reigns for absolutely no reason other than the fact that the guy's probably losing his friggin' mind from being stuck on the mid-card for too long, and then he gets beaten by Roman, lost again, Dolph Ziggler, just going down this path of insanity where he's calling out all these people that he knows he's not going to beat. I don't know where it's going. I also, more importantly, don't care. So let's just move on from here. I really did not enjoy any of that. They then aired a recap of Sasha Banks' return from last week, and we had Becky Lynch giving an interview. Becky Lynch wanted to come out here tonight and says that Sasha Banks was as cold as ice a few months ago, and she has done nothing to earn her sudden hot streak. Lynch then said that she got to the top while Sasha Banks never could. Now let's think about that for a second. Becky Lynch claims that she made it to the top while Sasha Banks never could. But correct me if I'm wrong. Is Sasha Banks not like a 5-time Raw Women's Champion? I'm sorry, maybe I'm overselling it. Isn't she at least a 3-time Raw Women's Champion? She's, as far as I know, a former NXT Women's Champion. Is she not? One of the greatest they've ever had. I'm pretty sure she's had her time at the top. Sasha Banks was at the top, even though the matches weren't great and she was flip-flopping the title with Charlotte Flair. That was at the top of the women's division at the start of this revolution that you were in the back of the line of, Miss Man. So why don't you do us all a favor, tuck in your balls, and shut your mouth for once, because that made no sense. Find whoever it is that wrote that line for you and smack them. Smack them and disarm them and do whatever it is that you do to people that do the man wrong, because that was a terrible, terrible thing to make you say. It makes you look like a complete asshole, Miss Lynch, because that is the most ridiculous thing you could have ever said about a decorated women's wrestler like Sasha Banks. Oh, she didn't make it to the top? She was at the top while you were still skating bottom. Awful. Excuse me. Still battling this little tickle in my throat, which is not funny. You know, usually tickles are funny to make you laugh. This is not that kind of tickle. It's also not the kind of funny that Jerry the King Lawler brings to the table, because that don't make me laugh either. We had the King's Court up next, excuse me. And this was awful. This is, again, just more proof of why we don't need guys like Jerry the King Lawler coming around. I understand it's the King of the Ring. He is the most famous king for the modern era to recognize, since he was part of that unbelievable announce team with Jim Ross. He was here to talk about the King of the Ring. He mentioned some kings of the past like Bret Hart, Stone Cold, and Brock Lesnar. And he just was his old Jerry the King Lawler self. He was very uninteresting. He said he picked Cedric Alexander and Ricochet as the finalists for Raw. And then before he can get to his SmackDown pick, the weird music and light situation of The Fiend started to happen in the arena. Jerry the King Lawler not being a dumbass. I mean, just because he's not funny doesn't mean he's stupid. He's smart enough to know, and he's been around long enough to see what's been going on. The lights start to hit. He friggin' hightails it out of the ring, only to be snuck up from behind by The Fiend at the entrance ramp, which I did really appreciate. They took a segment that could very easily start to become very repetitive and very boring if you keep doing it the same way, and tweaked it just enough to make it different enough to make you even more intrigued, because now you don't have to be in the ring at all. The Fiend can get you anywhere. There may be no escape once he's in your sights, or once you're in his sights, that is, and he proved that tonight with Jerry the King Lawler as he locked the mandible claw on the King at the top of the entry ramp. The crowd chanted "Yowie Wowie" in approval, and I approved as well. Michael Cole then introduced Vic Joseph to the announce team, and while I do enjoy Vic Joseph's work in the NXT area, having him on the same table as Michael Cole is like having two of the same flavors of ice cream in your dish and calling it a variety. Let's just leave it at that. We then had a tag team matchup that should never have been. We had four men that are all involved in the King of the Ring tournament placed in a random, unnecessary tag team match. the existence of which I cannot find the reason for, other than to make a returning Baron Corbin look like the dumbass we all know he is, and to make Drew McIntyre look like a complete loser while they are both getting ready to go down the road to King of the Ring. Why would you want to take anybody who is about to step foot in this tournament to try to make the absolute best impression going forward and give them losses days before they're actually going to do it? Instead of having this stupid tag team matchup that took up almost 10 minutes plus of our time on Monday Night Raw tonight, why didn't you have at least one of these pairings be their King of the Ring match? Give us Ricochet versus Drew tonight. Give us at least 4 of the matches. Give us 3 of the matches. You only gave us 2 of the matches, and in those 2 matches you gave us 15 minutes. I could forgive that if there was at least one more match there that went a good 20 minutes and really developed and looked like people that gave a shit about winning the King of the Ring. But instead we're going to take Ricochet and The Miz. 2 people that shouldn't be on a team together ever. I don't give a shit that The Miz is in his dad mode. I'm the USA spokesperson configuration of himself. He shouldn't be on a friggin' team with Ricochet. He just should. They don't look right together. It just doesn't clash. And I don't care about their involvement with the King of the Ring. That doesn't mean they should be teammates. And the same could kind of be said with Drew and Baron Corbin, but we've seen them paired together before. It's no surprise seeing 2 big goons paired together on Monday Night Raw. And that's what we saw tonight. To see Drew McIntyre and Baron Corbin lose. And I'm still trying to figure out why we had to see any of it in the first place. Michael Cole then interviewed Booker T. Another segment that happened tonight that I don't know why we're having this instead of adding time to the already existing King of the Ring matches that could have made them even better than they were, or giving us another one altogether, since tonight was supposed to be about the return of the King of the Ring. But instead we're talking to Booker T about how he was the King of the Ring and what he thinks of the Bray Wyatt situation. And I'm sitting here wondering, why does any of this matter? Why are we talking to Booker T? He certainly is not Stone Cold Steve Austin. We didn't need to be talking to Stone Cold Steve Austin last week either. So I would be a hypocrite to say it was great to see Booker T do it when it was pointless and useless to see Stone Cold doing it last week to be the Seth Rollins cheerleader. This week we have Booker T here, and what is he doing? He's kind of putting over Bray Wyatt in a sense, and then he's talking about and picking his winner. Booker T picked Drew McIntyre to win the whole thing. Great. Who cares? You gonna put this on your freaking YouTube channel? Unnecessary for Monday Night Raw. Just so they can mention King Booker again? You could do that without a useless interview segment. A United States Championship match was booked tonight for Braun Strowman to go one-on-one with the United States Champion, AJ Styles. But you all already knew what was going to happen before this match even was booked. It's just, you knew the club was going to get involved. There was no way AJ was losing the U.S. title tonight, and Braun Strowman had to come out with a win in some way. We have Braun Strowman. This is the same guy that's been running roughshod all over Monday Night Raw for the greater part of 2 years. We've seen him flipping tractors. We've seen him flipping ambulances. We've seen him survive being thrown in a dump truck by Kane. But he cannot beat up the club. And it's little things like that that bother me. Do you think they would have ever done something like that to an Andre the Giant? No, they're turning Braun Strowman into something more akin to the Big Show, which is not something we need to see repeated ever. So this match, if you want to call it that, went about 2 minutes before Gallows and Anderson got involved and ruined everything, only to have the WWE's resident dweeb, Seth Rollins, come out to make the save. This guy is in the back all night long. He's got his hat on backwards. He looks like he's 12 years old. He reminds me of that kid Smalls from The Sandlot. And all I want to keep saying to him is, you're killing me, Smalls. You're walking around smiling and shaking hands with people, making deals that you don't want to be making. Trying to be all cool now. It's not working. And I don't understand how a man who has beaten Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship twice, which is an unbelievable feat that almost nobody else in the world can say. Well, actually, nobody else in the world can say. And you still come off looking like one of the biggest nerds. Standing there looking starstruck at Braun Strowman. He looked like a fan next to him. I don't know what it is. There's something about the way they are portraying the character of Seth Rollins. I don't know if it's just that he's a baby face, and when they pair these baby faces together, there's just so much cheese on the ring. I want to get some freaking Fritos. Here we go with the food references again. I'm telling you guys, I'm freaking starving. I'm starving over here. And I'm also starving for good wrestling. That might be coming sooner than later. But this was freaking awful. Everything with Seth and Braun, awful. All their backstage interactions were forced. Braun Strowman barely said a thing. Like I said, all he was doing was dreaming of the Universal Championship being around his monstrous shoulders. We all know where this is headed. I don't know why they had to go that route. We'll come back to that at the end of the show. King of the Ring, round 1, match number 1. Samoa Joe defeated Cesaro in 10 minutes and 18 seconds. The best tournament in the history of sports entertainment. Definitely kicked off with a decent match. This was a good match to set the tempo and set the tone for the entirety of the tournament because it was a very physical, very hard-hitting matchup. It immediately started off with Cesaro exploding out of the corner with a European elbow strike in the corner by Samoa Joe that just rocked Samoa Joe, completely took him by surprise. Seeing the big man find himself on the mat and was immediately covered, but did kick out very quickly. They went to commercial break almost immediately in this matchup, which is one of the other things that I talked about in my King of the Ring video, which is what we didn't want to see happen. This is the King of the Ring. That's something, if you want to talk about having high stakes, that's something at stake. You're fighting to advance. You don't think the viewing audience at home deserves the picture-in-picture at this moment, at the very least right now? I know you don't want to do it during all the championship matchups, but you're going to make me sit through an Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross freaking matchup later on. You could at least make me see this matchup. We all tuned in to see the King of the Ring, and the first King of the Ring match starts, and 2 minutes in, we're watching Pizza Hut commercials instead. Again with the food. Oh my God. I think I got a problem, you guys. This was a very good matchup. It just should have been given more time. The more time it would have been given, the more importance would have been placed upon it. The more desperation it would have felt like these guys really, really wanted to. I mean, I know it felt like they were in it to win it, but when you would have given it a little bit more time, I'm telling you, man, we would have been given a classic. A classic. And I guess they should be lucky. They should consider themselves lucky that they got 10 minutes, considering what the other two guys got. It is announced that Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman will get their tag team title match later against the OC, and I didn't care, and I didn't think what was going to happen was truly going to happen. We had the Elias segment. They showed the replay from over the weekend, which you can see on their YouTube channel. Elias defends the 24/7 bullshit championship in a recording studio as Drake Maverick was dressed up as Slash or something in the corner. I don't know why he wouldn't know that was fucking Drake Maverick in his studio with him. You don't see the people that you're sitting there performing with. You don't know your studio musicians by now. Ridiculous. No thought put into these things. Oh, we'll just have him standing there in a big old Slash wig. Stupid. Elias was then in the ring. He kept getting incredible feedback on his microphone. It was very annoying to me in my house. I can't imagine what it sounded like to the viewing audience there in Minnesota. It must have been brutal. He said this was going to be his farewell performance. He began to play and his guitar was extremely out of tune. I noticed this immediately. And before he even made it a thing, we found someone in a hood, the roadie of sorts, in the ring to help out. Everything was so dark you couldn't really see, but unless you're an idiot or you're a monkey with no brain in your head, you already know once again what's coming. You know it's at least R-Truth or Drake Maverick in the ring. However, it was R-Truth. He tried a schoolboy and a small package, but Elias kicked out of both. Truth then hit a scissors kick, but Elias kicked out of that as well. He tried to use the guitar on Elias, but he ran out of the ring and escaped, once again remaining the 24/7 I'm a Clown avocado toast gold-plated champion of the world, which seems to be much more important than the King of the Ring. The Rey Mysterio interview. I don't know if I really even want to go back into this, but let's power through it, shall we? Charlie Caruso interviewed Rey Mysterio backstage. Caruso said Andrade ripped off his mask a few weeks ago and he was never able to avenge that incident. She also wondered why he mentioned his family so much last week. Rey Mysterio said he was fortunate. He has a beautiful family and a wonderful career. His uncle trained him from when he was a little boy, and he met people all across the world, and they were not just his fans, but also his friends. Lately, things have not been clicking for Rey Mysterio, and what Andrade did was a disgrace. In his culture, ripping off another man's mask, as we all wrestling fans already know, is a great, great insult. He was upset for not being able to get back at him for that. He said when he's in the ring, he could see his next move, but his body just doesn't want to keep up. He's fought a lot of bigger men in his career, but fears now that his injuries have finally caught up to him. He knew that this day comes for everyone, and he knew it would come for him, and he said it was time to hang up the mask. It's time for a new generation. And then Dominic showed up. Dominic, the shadow came into frame first and engulfed Rey Mysterio, only to reveal it to be his son Dominic and not the Big Show, as some of you guys might have thought. Dominic said to Mysterio that he once told him that when he debuted, it would be as his partner. Dominic wanted to be able to tell his children that he debuted with their grandfather, the great Rey Mysterio, and that he would make him proud and blah, blah, blah. And this would all be tremendously touching if the kid was actually ready enough to deliver a dramatic promo. You had him go out there with this dialogue, and he just delivered it with no emotion and just as if he was trying to remember the lines so that he can get everything out that they wanted him to say, which was already way too much. I think if let me stop doing that now. I think if Dominic would have just went in there and stopped his dad and been like, yo, Dad, give me a second. Let's talk. Pull him aside like a man and then just, film that separately. It just came off so awkward. Terrible verbiage. Whoever wrote this stuff for these guys, again, the writing on this show is piss poor, and it came off terribly in this. And some of you bleeding hearts out there, oh, it was so touching. I got all the feels. You know what I felt? I felt embarrassed for Dominic. And if I were him, and I go home later tonight and I watch the replay, or I see this on the network or on Hulu or wherever it is I'm going to watch it later on, I'm going to be embarrassed about my performance. I'm going to go to the mirror and I'm going to start practicing immediately, because they put him in a situation where this poor kid couldn't win. The crowd was kind of all over it in the beginning. They didn't really care too much. Here's my thing. This will be great. This will be great if Dominic does this whole thing with Rey and he teams up with him to have his debut match and turns on him only to align himself with Andrade and Zelina Vega. Maybe he's Zelina Vega's new client or something like that. I think that is the money way to go about this. If you keep going down this sappy bullshit father-son storyline, the crowd is going to turn on it quicker than a hiccup, and all you need to do is turn this kid heel upon his arrival. You will instantly make the new Mysterio a star. And I think it would be fantastic. If they do it literally any other way, then I will never forgive this promo. And I don't think anybody will ever get behind poor little Dommy Guerrero. Mysterio, little bit of an overactor in this segment, but he was good here. He's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. Dominic just was plain awful. And I'm sorry, kid. You were bad tonight. We all have a bad night. tonight wasn't your night, bro. Another ridiculous tag team matchup that we were put through tonight that didn't need to happen. The New Day, Xavier Woods and Big E, took on the Revival tonight in a rematch from last week's SmackDown Live main event, only to have it go to a somewhat no contest. The New Day win by disqualification thanks to the appearance of Randy Orton. And I was very thankful for the appearance of Randy Orton when he flew out of nowhere and hit Big E with an RKO that literally nobody saw coming, giving them the DQ win. It got a huge reaction from the fans, and it got a huge reaction from me. The one thing I'm a little bit confused about is the very loose alliance with the Revival. And I don't know if the hashtag FTR stands for Friends to Randy or not, but it certainly seems to be the case. It looks like the WWE is putting together another three-man stable in Orton and the Revival. And while this could be good for the Revival in the short term, long term, once they disassociate themselves from Randy Orton, they're just going to go right back to the bottom of the barrel. If you have two prime talents like a Cody Rhodes and a Ted DiBiase Jr. that can't hack it when they disassociated themselves from Randy Orton and Legacy split, what do you think's going to happen to two guys that going into this thing had no momentum? So that's my immediate concerns for what might be wrong with this whole association with Randy Orton. But on the short list, and immediately, it was kind of cool. The viciousness of it and the calculating plan that they had, which definitely came from the Apex Predator, and they systematically just disassembled the New Day tonight and forced Kofi Kingston to watch as the Revival broke the leg or attacked the knee of Xavier Woods, leaving his brother down, screaming in agony, screaming in pain, all the while Randy Orton smiling in the ring, holding Kofi Kingston's face to everything, making sure he doesn't look away, and that was some dramatic and compelling stuff. And where did it come from? SmackDown Live! Shouldn't all this be happening tomorrow? Really? Aside from that, this whole thing was very cool, and it's going to at least pique my interest and keep us going for a little bit longer to watch and see what develops as far as the Revival is concerned. The Sasha Banks interview, if this was truly what they had planned, was very underwhelming and was unnecessary. It really was. It was pointless. Pointless. Michael Cole interviewed Sasha Banks, who was on the big screen. Michael Cole asked her to explain her actions. Sasha Banks started to come off kind of as if she was regretful a little bit, but then she just started talking about how awesome she looked with her blue hair. And then Michael Cole, the blithering idiot that he is, wants to say, nobody's talking about your blue hair. What are you, stupid? Have you not been on social media all week? Did you not hear everybody after last Monday night? What an idiot thing to say. He then wanted to remind everybody what happened last week and how Natalya, talking about her dead father, saw Sasha Banks come out and re-debut and then attack Natty, and he went over all of that shit. And then he just started rambling. Did you get this, guys? Like, did you hear Michael Cole? Like, he just fucking started rambling and talking, like, very strangely. Like, I can't even recall what he said, nor when I listened to it did I have any idea what the fuck he was waiting for Sasha Banks to say. It was something like, we want you to hear the truth now, and not now, but later, and you need to tell us, or something now. It was very, very weird. Very strange. And if you go back and rewatch it, please don't, because you don't need to torture yourself. But if you do go back just to see what I'm talking about, maybe it'll be on .com. I just don't know. What did he want her to say? What was he looking for? Some sort of an answer, I presume. And then Sasha Banks just said, you're welcome, and left. Underwhelming. Not worth waiting for. Not worth all the hype. And then this was followed by a women's tag team championship matchup. Do you guys realize that ever since they put the tag team titles on Alexa Bliss, the one woman in the division that is probably the most afraid to actually wrestle, the one woman who can wrestle but chooses not to more than anybody else, and who gets by on her looks alone and her character and her mic work, has been on every freaking show defending those championships. They have put more emphasis on the on the women's tag team championship belts since they've been on Alexa and Nikki Cross. Way more so than when they were on two legit female athletes in Bayley and Sasha. I understand them not really featuring it on the Iconics too much because they're not the best workers in the world and they can only go with other people that are at a higher level than them, and then they can pull off a very good match. You put the Iconics in there with Bliss and Cross, and we've all seen what has happened, and now all the focus is on the women's tag team division when it's on somebody who can't wrestle. I don't understand. It's awful. It's just awful. And they barely gave this match 5 minutes as it was, but at least they're putting, if we could see any silver lining, they're giving attention to the women's tag team division. Not that there's any real women's tag teams in the division, but then they go out there tonight, Cross and Bliss, that is, and defend their championships, or in a non-title match, against Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, which actually makes it even worse. I was under the assumption when I watched this thing that it was a title match. Reading back the results right now, I'm reading to you guys that it was a non-title match, which makes it even worse that Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, a legitimate tag team with a legitimate name and an entrance and a whole gimmick and everything, and then two girls that have been together for years, lost to these two. I thought maybe we were going to see them get the championships and we were going to move in a more serious direction, but instead we're going to leave these belts on the waist of Alexa Bliss. There is no other excuse for it. They just have to give her championships, and Nikki Cross should just count her lucky stars that they chose her to be standing next to her, and we should be counting our lucky stars that they gave it to Nikki Cross and not Alicia Fox or Dana Brooke or one of the other worst ones that there could possibly have been. Trying to find positives for you guys. Everybody's, oh, you're so negative. Well, yeah, but what do we have to be positive about? I'm trying to find some silver linings, but the name of the show was everything wrong with Monday Night Raw, not what could maybe be right in the future. Everything about this woman's thing was wrong. Just as wrong as the King of the Ring Round 1 match number 2, Cedric Alexander going up against Sami Zayn. I thought this could have been a sleeper match to steal the whole entire tournament. I'm telling you guys right now, I expected something more similar to what we were seeing in tournaments like the When Worlds Collide tournament or the NXT tournaments that we are seeing down there or the Cruiserweight Classic. This could have been a fantastic match. It could have blew the crowd away. It would have got Cedric more over, and it would have reignited everybody on Sami Zayn. Would have reminded everybody that he's not just a jobber sitting there getting paychecks for having his shoulders pinned to the mat. He can actually wrestle, and he's actually really good at it. He's not just the critic of the critics. He's actually a pretty badass wrestler, and this was a case where they could have showcased that, and they failed miserably. They failed these guys miserably. 3 minutes and 34 seconds. A King of the Ring matchup with two top talents that could wrestle for an hour if you asked them to. You gave them 3.5 minutes. And I'm supposed to care. I'm supposed to believe that they care. 3.5 minutes for this. 10 minutes for some of this other shit. They gave more time to the Women's Tag Team Championship matchup. Awful. You know what else is awful? The way that they have been showcasing the Street Profits. Tonight was maybe one of the worst that I have seen. These guys were forgetting their lines, I think. They were just kind of off tonight. I don't like seeing the NXT Tag Team Champions being made to look like fools. for some reason, when they do their promos and their shtick down in NXT, it doesn't come off the way it comes off on the Red brand, and I'm not understanding why that is. But it was just a little cringy. They were talking about why don't they have a tag team King of the Ring, and it was just very weird. I didn't care. Gallows and Anderson were complaining about having to face Rollins and Strowman, that they weren't even a real team. Feel like they could be working here with me. Actually, some logic. Look at this. They're not even a real team. They did nothing to earn this opportunity, and they're just walking in and getting a tag team championship matchup. Truer words were never spoken about this scenario. They have a 100% legitimate point. Why is this match happening? I still can't figure it out. Because Seth Rollins says so? Why? Because Stone Cold said you're okay? So now you can start running the show the way you like it? AJ Styles started to pump these guys back up, and then starts his whole... And this is the whole reason why I can't stand the OC. First of all, I can't stand the OC based off of the name alone. It's fucking awful. The logo is great. The name is awful. And I can't stand this... I don't know what they're making AJ Styles be. This very weird villain. This, I'm like a nerd villain. He's like Megamind. Or something like that. It's like, mother lovers, let's do it, mother lovers. Throwing up the too sweet, saying shit like that. They're no match for the Cowboys. Cowboys? We're playing football now? Are we in Minnesota? I thought the Vikings are in Minnesota. Cowboys? What fucking Cowboys? They're no match for these mother lovers. What? Get the fuck out of here. After this, Natalya was putting everybody to sleep, cutting another promo. This poor girl can't catch a break. They got her out there, her arm in a sling. She's trying to cry about her daddy. The crowd is whatting her to death. They're shitting all over her. Finally, Sasha Banks shows up again and absolutely destroys Natalya in the back and delivers the line of the year on Monday Night Raw, as she gets in really close to Natalya and tells her to go to hell and tell your daddy I said hi. Ooh, you want to talk about a fucking burn? That was a boss level burn. That is the Sasha Banks that the WWE needs to shake things up. She's going to bring that character that she was from NXT and ramp that shit up to 11. If she keeps doing shit like this, I'm going to be right back on the Sasha train, and the rest of you should climb aboard, because it's going to be a fun-ass ride. The Universal Champions Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman defeated Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, with AJ Styles at ringside no less, to win the Raw Tag Team Championships in a match that went almost 15 minutes before it was all said and done. Seth Rollins still had his ribs taped. Braun Strowman and him seemed to get along just fine throughout the entirety of the match. For some reason, the OC lost, and we have new tag team champions. The show goes off the air with Rollins and Strowman on the entrance ramp, and Braun Strowman staring at the Universal Championship while holding his tag team title. It's funny to me that Braun Strowman is the tag team champion again. And in fact, if he didn't win tonight, I would have been sitting here telling you guys that Seth Rollins is even worse, because Braun Strowman was able to go out at WrestleMania and win the tag team championships with a 7-year-old kid as his partner. It's almost a foregone conclusion that he's going to win it with Seth Rollins by the end of the night, is it not? I was hoping that wasn't the case, but that was the case, and that, my friends, was your Monday Night Raw on this first episode involving the King of the Ring, and the fact that there was everything I feared happening here except for shenanigans going on during the King of the Ring. That I didn't want to see happen, but this show couldn't be any worse. And there is no way you can consider what they've been doing with King of the Ring as competition. You can't take one good match, like I said at the start of the show, you can't take a good match here and a good match there, put it in the middle of a piece of shit show, and think it's going to make a difference to anybody else anywhere in the world. Because it's certainly not. If they need to worry about anything, it's NXT. They certainly don't have to worry about King of the Ring, especially not after what we've seen on tonight's Monday Night Raw. Thank you guys all for being with me once again on another hammering of the WWE's worst professional wrestling show ever. Monday Night Raw 2019 is turning out to be no better than 2018 as far as it pertains to this programming, but it is turning out to be better for us here at Sledgehammer TV because we are getting closer to that 2,000 subscriber mark. The closer we get, the better I feel, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's show and consider to hit that subscribe button right now. If you enjoyed today's show, if you liked anything I had to say, if you agreed with me, if you liked any of my points, if I made you laugh, if I made you cry, if I made you want to come back here for more for any reason, hit that subscribe button right now. Make sure you smash that notification bell so that you don't miss anything else coming up on the channel, including our continued coverage of the King of the Ring tournament and the upcoming Clash of the Champions event, and All Out happening at the end of the month because the hammer comes down just as hard on AEW as we do on the WWE because I love wrestling above all allegiances to any one promotion. At me if you want to. But I'd rather you guys hit that like button and make sure that you share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they were extremely disappointed with the way the WWE turned out the first installment of the King of the Ring. Don't forget to be following me on Twitter at Nick Nightmare is the handle. The Instagram page is always kicking at Nick_Nightmare over there. Be following me across all platforms on social media. You get my live tweets during Raw and SmackDown. You will see a lot of my in-ring training and a lot of my House of Glory journey on my Instagram account as I post there as often as I am allowed to. I have been part of a couple of House of Glory shows already. I am doing some really big things over there, and I am enjoying myself so much. And if you want to see more about that, enjoy my other accounts as well. Thank you all once again for being with me on the close of our third year. I wish some of you guys would have picked up that t-shirt, because if you didn't believe me, that t-shirt is gone and it ain't coming back, and I'm going to be designing a new one to maybe bring back around the Survivor Series, as we like to do our specials around the big four. There's only 4 big pay-per-views on this channel. And, yeah, so that's it. And I can't thank you guys all enough, all of you who have already been sledgeheads with me for the last 3 years. To the next 300 years and beyond. Let's get to 2,000 subscribers before the end of August would be fantastic, and then to infinity and beyond. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the Team Thor, the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Snowball, and the most important member of the team, as always, is each and every one of you. I know I did the outro backwards tonight, but that also allows me to give you guys one last little nugget. Don't forget to check out our King of the Ring special if you missed it. It is a very funny video. I put a lot of work into it, and it's pretty good. And after you watch that one, you can watch my 5 crazy ways the WWE should be booking Bray Wyatt. Only available right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. Only on Sledgehammer TV. You guys are fucking awesome. Thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow night for a SmackDown Live. Boom.